Hi guys, once again, Gentleman Jim the Tailor.
Victoria Baylor, Dressmaker. Hey guys.
So glad to see you guys again.
Welcome to another episode of the Tailor and the Dressmaker Show. That's right. So it is February, huh?
Just about. Tomorrow. Well,
by the time they see it,
it'll be February.
No, it's
but
close.
don't worry about that.
That's right.
It'll be here.
It's coming. So last month, I think we got off to a good start with the year, right?
Yeah, we started talking more about the personal side of life related to sewing.
That's right.
That's the best way for me to describe it there.
Excellent way to describe it. Why is that so important? People try to separate sewing from life. Is there a way to do that?
You can, but you really don't become successful at it. You just don't. You can get good at it, but you don't become successful. So what's the difference between good and success?
Exactly.
You know,
Very good.
My interpretations of good and success. Good means that you sew to a certain comfort level.
That's true.
Okay?
That's right.
And then you go beyond that. I always tell my students, think outside the box. You can go beyond that. As far as advancing what you do or how it looks, that's key to it there.
So what you're saying technically is that there's always room for improvement.
Always.
And you can be a good, better, best, and where on that threshold you sit depends on you and your drive. Is that correct?
That it does. And a lot of it has to do, which is what you hear us talk about and what I talk about all the time, your spiritual connection with the world. Because your spiritual connection, as we all know, makes us better people.
That's true. That's true. And I think there's no waste in developing yourself and learning and growing, because in that you find your purpose, and within your purpose you find a way to actually connect with the world and better the world.
Absolutely.
So we're all about that. So in the same vein of last month's where we talked about sewing confidence and sewing inspiration,
Yeah.
we are going to attack the human psyche and just the way we process, the way we undertake things, by starting a new series called the Expert Sewer Series, what's the other part of that? You gave a good title. How to make you
better.
That's right.
How to make you better.
That's right.
Okay. I have a little thing that I do with all my students. Okay. I know that I've been in this industry for a long time, and I always talk about connect. I always tell them, first of all, if you really want to be good, it can't be a head trip. It has to be a heart and spirit trip.
That's right.
Head trips take you down the path of the glamour of this industry. And this is probably the most glamorous industry out there, outside of the theatrics of motion picture, television, and all of that.
Yes.
The difference is everybody isn't going to get on the big screen, and everybody isn't going to get on television.
Yes.
But in this industry, you create your own big screen and little screen and any other screen, because the better you are, the world will see you. Not like in a motion picture or on television. The world sees you differently. How do you connect all that? I tell everybody who comes to me, don't come in here with a head trip about lights, camera, action, red carpet, and all of that. When you get good, the world knocks on your door. And I always tell them it comes from here and not from here. So, but here connects up with here.
That's right.
You can have all this big head in the world, and you can't do it.
That's right.
I was talking to one of my students yesterday, and I told her straight out, and this is no offense to you guys out there that claim you're a fashion designer, all of that there. If you can't sew it, you can't sell it. I say that all the time.
That's true.
Because a fashion designer technically is nothing more than an artist that draws clothes.
That's true. And if you want to take it to the next level, by having the ability to actually produce it, that's one of your greatest strengths.
That's it.
And you're absolutely right. And I think with that being said, we have done a show on how to achieve sewing mastery. That was one of our first shows. And I'm going to include a link for you guys to go back and watch that. This series is kind of going to be a jump from that, but it's going to be more in depth. For the entire month of February, we are devoted, as Mr. Jim said, to just helping you in your personal development, to help you change your mindset when it comes to sewing expertise and you getting better. I totally agree with you. I subscribe to the notion that it has to start here first.
Yeah.
Definitely. It has to be something that you're so passionate about, something that you're driven to do. And then once it starts there, it has to flow up to here.
Make up.
And from here, this will determine what these do.
That's right.
And what we find, which is today's show's focus, is this isn't aligned properly. Is that correct?
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So we're going to define what is a sewing expert. Like, who is that? Because I think for a lot of newbies especially, they see it as like the huge jump from I'm over here to over here, and I'm never going to make it because everybody else is more talented than me. But break down, you're an expert. What do you consider to be like sewing expert? And how one achieves that status.
Okay. I'll tell you how I achieved it. When I went to school for it, and you guys always hear me talking about, I learned this industry in high school of fashion industry, New York City.
That's
always
right.
give them a plug.
Shout outs.
The reason why, it was a very unique school, and it still is. They focus on the basics first, and they drill that at me. And just like I drill it in my students, I drill the basics. Sewing straight zippers and pockets. I drilled it in it. And then I mastered those three things. The rest was the assembling of something put around those three things.
That's right.
Right? So, but I had to focus. I had to get my mind and my spirit. Do you want to do this, or do you just want to fool around? Now, by me wanting to do this, I'm one of the few that graduated way back when I did, 1962, that is still in it or ever got in it.
It's pretty commendable after what, 55 years?
55 years.
Wow.
Okay. That are still in it or even got in it, because most of them didn't get in it because they were focused here on the big time instead of being focused here on what could be, say. Because in life, it's about what can be, not always what you visually see. Because if you don't have the talent, you can see everything you want to. You never succeed at that. So I started linking my head and my heart together. And I tell everybody, and I tell all my students, I said, look at your hands and understand they don't belong to you. Nothing belongs to you.
That's right.
I tell everybody that these are God's hands. I just maneuver them for Him in this industry. So once again, I connect the soul, my body, my hands with my mind to say, work for me. And at times when I talk about connecting everything together, I look at the stuff I do, I say, wow, that's good. But I also thank the Father for allowing me to do this.
Absolutely. And I think what I heard you say and what we're trying to convey is that sewing expertise is not something that just skips from one person to the other. It's not selective. It's actually, anybody can become a sewing expert.
Absolutely.
It's an achievable goal. So that's what we want you to see today. It's an achievable goal, but what does it take to get to that level? And Mr. Jim said a lot of stuff. First of all, you have to have a passion in your heart. I totally concur. And then second of all, you have to have, I like what they call it grit.
Yeah.
There's just this ability to just get in, this doggedness to discover, to practice, to try over and over again until you get something. And the most logical way to do that is, like you said, to start with the fundamentals. I don't know why people make sewing so complicated. It really isn't. It's a repetition of actions.
That's all it is.
Pockets, zippers, sewing seams straight, all that kind of stuff. You repeat that over and over again, you put an outfit together. So again, I will say that our whole point for February, which is going to be really cool, we have some neat tools and things that are going to be coming out to try to help you achieve mastery, help you try to determine where you are, where you need to go to improve, all that stuff. Next week we're going to talk about time management, which is amazing. We'll actually give you like step-by-step pointers, give you some charts, help you learn to block off time, which is really cool, so that you will be able to have the amount of time needed to learn and grow and all the other stuff. Okay, so back to expertise. So we already said it is attainable. You can become a sewing expert.
Sure it is.
I actually consider myself a sewing expert. That's something I probably wouldn't have said years ago. Now I'm a lower level sewing expert than this young man who's been doing it 55 years. But by expert, I think what we're trying to say is not that you have experienced every type of sewing there is. That's not what makes you an expert. I'm sure there's some materials and cloths Mr. Jim hasn't sewed with by choice. It doesn't mean you've done everything. By expertise, it means that you're able to actually go in, perform an operation, understand the fundamentals, execute them pretty much consistently and very well over and over and over again that's what makes you, an expert.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and then the amount of time spent, the book Outliers covers that, 10,000 hours. Most people that have done something, they usually say, we don't even know time. You can't put a time with it. But over and over again and achieve really great results, you can consider yourself an expert.
Oh, absolutely.
So there you go.
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
Looking at it outside the box. I tell my students this all the time. Look at it outside the box. I had a brainstorm after all these years of doing something differently, because I kept saying, why can't I do this a different way? Not necessarily get a better results, but get a better results. As you guys know, I always talk about the gentleman who I make all the vests for.
That's right.
Well, right now, I'm up to 180. Okay. He has a pattern of cloth. I had to say, okay, how do I figure this out? Now, from an expert standpoint, which is what I have been doing before, I used the material the way it was given to me. But it had designs on it that were placed in a way, so I would cut a piece from here, but I couldn't necessarily get that same piece here, so I'd have to go up here and get it. But when I finished, I had all these patchworks left.
Yeah.
So when he decided he wanted the same thing again, he bought another piece of cloth. I said, well, let me not waste this. So I started and I put it this and this. Before I had it this and this. So when I allowed myself to, after all the vests that I've made and all the years that I have been sewing, like we say, getting from here to the so-called expertise, that's a new word that I just come up with, myself, on how to make it better. So all I did was, because I could do it with this type of cloth, instead of using it this way, I turned it the other way, and now I got all of them lined up in a row, and I got a neater print than I had before.
And see, even out of coming across challenges, that's where imagination and ingenuity are born. Yeah. So even after doing something so many times, you can always find a way to tweak it and make it better.
Always.
So I kind of think expertise is just climbing a ladder or even climbing a mountain to the top and then just enjoying the view, but being able to run around the top and see new things from different sides. Sure. So kind of think of it that way. So our job, our goal, no matter where you start in that mountain, whether it's at the base, you're still climbing the middle, just keep on climbing, because you're going to reach a summit, which will just enhance your view and make it just open you up to all new horizons with sewing. Yeah. So, this is attainable. This is an encouraging message for you guys. Very is. Yeah. So then the next question is, how do you feel about where you are? You have to be honest with yourself. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you're in a great place? Do you feel like you need to grow some more? This is personal. You answer that question, and based on your answer, you can create a plan of action to get to where you need to be. Goals are important. What are your goals for this year? We'll kind of talk about that, highlight that a little bit more. What are your struggles? Everybody struggles with something. Fears, doubt, all that good stuff. But what I want to say is, obviously, if you do what successful people do, you will be successful. So, usually the MO or the modus operandi, which is what I was trying to say, of successful people is they create goals, they have visions, they have dreams, and they have a doggedness to achieve it despite the obstacles. The same thing applies for sewing. So just two more points that I'd like to make that I think that were really cool is a friend of mine, one of my masterminded group friends, and I'll get your opinion of this. She had a really great quote that she was sharing with our group, and she said, if you want more, you have to become more. Mm-hmm. So I'll repeat that. If you want more, you have to become more. So if you want more in your sewing, if you want to grow, if you want to be an expert, if you want to just, rise to the next level, you yourself have to become more. Mm-hmm. And to become more takes on different forms. And that's what we'll talk about in the upcoming weeks. And then the second thing is you are the sum of all of your choices. Somehow people think that becoming an expert at anything is just like this one giant leap someone made and that was it. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. It's the tiny things. Mm-hmm. It's the thing you do every day. Mm-hmm. Every day. Yeah. I think I was listening to a really great motivational talk today that I'll also include in the link. One guy just encouraged, just take an hour every day.
That's it.
Just read, get on your sewing machine, whatever you need to do, and just to get, attain more. Okay, and I know I said I was done talking, but I came up with another idea. I actually, again, listening to a motivational talk today, there was something interesting that the speaker said. It was a compilation of speakers on the video. Again, look down below and it's linked. But they said, the gentleman who was talking, made a very interesting point. He said a lot of people don't achieve mastery because they do something and then they hop all over the place.
Yeah.
Like they don't, this is a lack of focus. Like they'll do something once and they're like, oh, I don't know, and they have lackluster. No, I mean, if you think about it, if Michael Phelps only swam, like I don't know which relays he swims, but if he did something one time and decided, oh, I'm just going to switch to other two things, where would he ever have expertise? Yeah. He would be able to do a lot of good things and maybe well, but what about mastering that one thing? So I guess with that being said, we want to encourage you guys, mastery starts at one thing at a time.
That's it.
If you're really rough at sewing dresses, I don't care if you got to sew a dress 100 doggone times.
That's right.
Sew it. Keep sewing it. And if you notice after 10 tries, it doesn't look good, something's wrong with your technique. Don't keep doing it over and over again. I think what he said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different
you know.
definition.
I have a good one on that. I have one of my students. We are working on different projects, and she's doing dresses now and skirts. And when I saw her last, I said, better bring me some results. I said it just like that, you know. So when I saw her yesterday, she had 5 pieces she did.
Ooh.
Now, technically speaking, the 5 weren't bad. I just showed her where to get better in each area. And that's all awesome. It took. Because like I'm saying, when you master the things that I say, how important they are, the sewing straight part especially, because that's a reflection on how good your garment looks. Trust me, okay, how simple it is.
That's true.
See? But then when I showed her some things, the things that I show a lot of my students are not in your everyday sewing instructional manual. It took me a lot of years to develop systems where I could improve on it just like that. People have come into my space along the way, and they figured something else. I incorporate that into my sewing. I didn't come up, it's not original from me, but it worked well for them, and I saw where it expedited the time factor, because it's about time. And so I use them. But I've combined all of these methods that I use, and a lot of them are a little different than the way other people teach it. I'm not saying that they're wrong. All I'm saying is I found out a faster and better way in a lot of areas. I have, and that's why I talk a lot about the information that I put out there, that I've recorded. Is it the only way? No. Is it the best way? Yes.
We think so.
You know, because it took years to develop it. And, you know, 55 years, I saw a little clip on some tailor, and he was adamant about, to become a good tailor, you have to study under a tailor, and it takes 5 good years before you get good at it. And I beg his difference. It takes 5 good years. It takes the concentration of your foundation and you working at it. Listen, I got as good as I got within the first 2 years of my sewing. I really did. I couldn't learn how to sew no straighter than I did. I couldn't learn how to put any zippers in any better than I did within the first 2 years of my being in the industry, and the same thing with pockets. The years that came after that was the development of things that we make out of these things.
That's right.
But I mastered the easy ones, which was the foundation, and everything else became. People say, well, I can make this, but I can't make that. I said, why not?
That shouldn't be the case.
Never should be the case.
Not technically. Yeah.
It shouldn't. The difference in what you don't know is how to formulate the basics into that garment. Because it's all sewn. It ain't no difference. It's all sewn.
That's right.
You know,
if the textile changes, that's one thing.
That's one thing.
Yeah,
you know?
but you're right. But
you know, it's just sewing. Just like I learned, I took the last vest that I made for him, and I turned the pattern the opposite way to where it lined up better, and it saved material. Because before I was throwing away a little piece over here, a little piece over there. I maximize everything that I have. I have my students lay out something on this cutting table, and they start. I said, is there a reason why you can't put it closer together?
Tighten it up.
Tighten it up and save that, because sometimes you can get something else out of your waste. You know, your waste.
One thing I learned from you is I love the fact that you do trace your pattern pieces. A lot of people sometimes don't do that. I think that's kind of actually ingenious. You can trace it and then just see where things are. So it's like the little things like that. And one thing I'll ask, and I'll pose this question before we end, is if the sum total of what you know could be transported into a toolbox, we'll just call it your sewing toolbox, what would that look like? Would your sewing toolbox be full of all the best tools? Would you have a double racking system because you have so much information, so much tools that you have at your disposal? Or would you have one of those toolboxes that just have those little dollar store cheap plastic handle tools? And think about it, you're using this stuff to build garments. If your toolbox ain't chock full, if it's not organized, if it's not well equipped, why do you keep thinking you're getting the results you're getting? So that's what we're here to talk about. Let's change the way we see what expertise is. Let's change our drive. Let's focus toward mastering. It is attainable for you. We're going to show you the next few weeks, even like resources, everything you need. So we're excited. So it's going to be a wonderful February. So just enjoy the pep talk.
Bye-bye.
So long. See you guys next week. It's Tailor and Dressmaker Show. Thank you for stopping by. Bye.
Bye now.